Welcome back! So I have not filmed like a proper sit down unscripted video in so long. I can't even remember when the last time it was that I did it. Today is a really exciting day because I'm sitting down and reviewing all of my goals for next year, but more importantly like my financial goals, my financial activity from the last year. I talk a lot about financial routines on this channel and it probably wouldn't be right if I didn't actually show you what I saved, spent and invested this year, because I'm quite proud of the fact that I've done this consistently throughout the year. I've gone on a couple of holidays that I haven't had to, dip into any savings for, technically. I did use an incredibly simple budgeting spreadsheet that I have available for download and I have talked about on this channel before. I'll link the video here, but it's basically just a spreadsheet where I paste in all of my transactions from a bank statement for the month and categorize them. And I do this for my current account and my Amex, which is my main credit card that I use for like any other spending. Categorize them, and then my budget just shows me if I'm over or under what I wanted to spend in the year. Editing Dev here. I'm going to talk about all the expenses from here on out that are discretionary in my budget. I'm not really going to go into specifics on the mandatory spending because that makes up about 30 to 40% of my total spending every month, and it's relatively boring. I keep it really simple. It's literally just like living costs, utilities, mortgage, bills, Wi-Fi, and then everything else I keep in my budget, and everything else is adjustable. These are the only categories I'm going to go into in this video, so I hope you enjoy the rest of this video. Peace out. So I'm going to start off obviously with the money stuff and just did a quick overview of what I saved, spent and invested, and my spending actually shocked me a little bit. The biggest expense, aside from reinvesting into like social media and businessy stuff. Editing Dev back here again to tell you that the actual biggest expense for me was reinvesting into YouTube and the social media stuff that I do online. And this kind of included getting a new MacBook, redoing my workspace, which I will make a new video on and give you a tour of. This expense actually was higher than all of the expense categories I speak about in this video, because these do count as a separate expense, and also I count any kind of income I receive from social media as a separate expense. I don't put it in my personal budget, and therefore I haven't spoken about it in this video. It was actually clothes, which I'm actually shocked by. I thought it would be personal care. So personal care for me, I count as like laser, hair removal, getting my hair done, my weekly top-ups for beauty and skincare and stuff like that, which can be quite expensive these days because my affordability has gone up. So for example, my lifestyle inflation has meant that I'm investing more into like better quality products, and also started using tretinoin. Is that how you say it? Tretinoin. And that's expensive. Like, why is that expensive? And it's actually really hard to find in the UK because you have to be prescribed it. I started using it with Skin in Me. Awesome. I love the little tube it comes in and the sound it makes. Easily impressed, obviously. And I did it for 3 months to allow my skin to like adapt to it. And it's nice because, you get this delivered. It's customized, which is, it's $24.99. But I just don't know if it's worth that much for skincare. I was using it for like a specific thing that was wrong with my skin, so it's not just because I fancied using it. Let me know like how you use it, how you get it, how strong your thing is, how often you use it. That's a big thing for me. I don't know how often people use it. Personal care was actually only a K, rounded down. It's relatively high because I invested into laser hair removal this year. An amazing investment. Now I don't really have to worry about hair removal ever. So that has definitely made up the bulk of personal care. At least 70% of that cost is laser hair removal for my entire body. Now clothing. So clothing has a rise to about 4K, which is a lot. It's actually a lot. This is the thing with like reviewing your expenses. I would not have said that clothing was my biggest expense, but here we are. I have got a lot of cool new trainers this year, which I love. I never regret buying trainers. I did invest into a lot of quality clothing this year. I also bought my first lenga, like my lenga. That's not my mum's or like someone else's that I'm borrowing or renting. And I have actually worn it to 2 weddings in a row. Hopefully that's acceptable. I got it in like a sample sale from Lily's Boutique, which is a really beautiful place to buy Indian clothing in the UK. Bought it via Instagram as well, so it was actually quite easy because Scotland is, I don't even want to talk about how hard it is to source Indian clothing that actually looks nice in Scotland. So we're not going to talk about it, but yeah, invested into my first lenga. Definitely investment. That stuff is expensive, but it's good to just have one for special occasions like weddings. I also rented a couple of items this year for weddings again and other special events. Eating and drinking out was about 1.2k, totally understand that. And travel was about 3k, which is the second highest expense for this year, and that's totally expected. I'm actually surprised that that's not the top expense, but this year I did go to Dubai for a hen do, which was relatively expensive, but I put away money for this trip from the beginning of this year to the month before the trip. So I had a good 8 months to build up a healthy sinking fund, and I actually over budgeted for how much I'd spend and actually spent the entire over budgeted amount. That was good. Good for me, being very risk averse and over budgeting, but kind of sad that I spent the whole amount. But also it was an awesome holiday, so I'm not going to complain. I preach a lot about how amazing sinking funds are and how much I love them, and this is the prime example why. I put away a small, well, was it a small amount of money? It wasn't like crazy, it was about 10% of my salary. I put away for a few months, and by the time it got around to the holiday, I was anxiety free because I had that pot to spend with. I could just transfer the pot into like a travel friendly spending card, and that was it. I was sorted for the holiday. I didn't have to dip into anywhere. I didn't have to worry about exchange rates. I didn't have to worry about if I could afford this and that, because I budgeted for everything, because I thought about it in advance, set up the little standing order to my sinking fund, and then that was it. I just forgot about it until it came the day to fly to Dubai. Using this kind of method for holidays, for gifts, I think setting up a sinking fund for Christmas gifts is something that I've told a lot of my friends about this year. It's a seasonal cost, but you kind of forget about it because it is a seasonal cost. So set up a sinking fund for Christmas gifts, anxiety free by the time you're shopping for gifts. But it meant that, you know, like when I saw this travel amount in my budget for the year, I wasn't surprised by it or shocked by it. Now I spent almost a K on literally Amazon, which I've given an entire category space to in my budget. What's another big expense? Subscriptions, about £500. So I subscribed to a business network run by Jazz. It's actually a really amazing network. I've spoken about it a couple of times on this channel before, but I've made some amazing friends through this network, and I've also seen some businesses start and thrive, and it's actually like just a really awesome community to be a part of. And the gym was about £400. So with the gym, I've also incorporated any like gym related costs. Gym is completely something I'm happy to spend money on, as is learning, which I've got as a category here. Learning, I've only spent £60, and I know exactly what that was. It's like courses, subscriptions to videos, Skillshare, things like that I've counted as learning, because that's just reinvesting into my own knowledge and my own career, and also books and stuff like that. So savings, you'll be surprised to know, is extremely small, because I only save money that I'm going to spend in the short term outside of my emergency fund. So for example, my savings include the money that I saved up for Dubai, even though I spent that in September. And the way my budget works, it does like cancel the stuff out, so it's not like double counting anything. And then also it includes the money that I spent on like fun stuff and leisure and random bits of travel and drinks and eating out and stuff like that. It's also incorporated that and sectioned it out for me, which I've spent about 2k on fun stuff this year, which I'm quite happy with that amount. It's not ridiculous. It doesn't make me feel sick, which is the main thing I want. And with my investments, I've invested about 6k, and this includes my stocks and shares ISA and my crypto, which, you know, it's small, but it's there. Obviously it's going through its own problems right now. So I think I want to keep that the same next year. I want to keep money aside for life and also social media, and also investing into myself, because I really want to take that a bit more seriously next year, and investing in myself in terms of doing courses, improving myself for my professional career as well, like my consulting job. And that incorporates things like going to conferences and events abroad. I'm happy with £500 a month going into my stocks and shares ISA. I don't feel like I would get to this time next year and then regret not having increased that. As long as I'm not spending the difference not on myself, that's fine. Now let's talk about my goals for next year. And as I said earlier in this video, I kind of want to invest into like clothing, but nicer clothing that I can then rent out. And the purpose of this is because I've got lots of like weddings, cool events going on next year. Because of the events I have coming up and the outfits I want to wear to them, I thought, okay, why not invest into the pieces that I know I want to wear to these events, and then rent them out on rental platforms, which are growing and which are doing really well, like Buy Rotation, Hush. There's a couple of other, Her, where people are making like incomes from those platforms. So I kind of want to see if it works out, which it just means that I get to wear clothing that I really want to wear. I get to buy high quality items I can kind of keep in my wardrobe over time, and also share that with other people and make the money back from those items as well. So I'm not like massively putting a dent into my finances. I also have a lot of travel next year. I say a lot, but it's just a lot more than this past year that's just gone. I think I'm just gonna set up some sinking funds for the separate trips that I have and start putting some money aside for them, and kind of focus my money between investing into a nice wardrobe for my events and also travel. Okay, so let's talk about how I'm actually going to save and invest this much money, because that's going to end up being a significant portion of my payslip, and I run out of water. Now, the first thing is setting up automated standing orders. I mentioned this earlier when I was talking about sinking funds, and I've actually already set them up into a digital bank because those are the easiest ones for me to take abroad. So things like Monzo, Starling, Revolut. And once that standing order is in, how do I work around the standing order? Because it's significantly larger than the travel standing order I had last year. And because it's automatic, it goes through at the beginning of the month as soon as I get paid. There's no thinking about it. There's no me looking at the money being taken away. I just deal with what's left over in my current account. What is this? The second thing I'm going to be doing is creating friction for the habits or the activities that lead to me spending more. For me, I know my bad habits are being bored and browsing on my phone, watching TikTok too much, because I get so easily influenced to buy things I don't need just because it's trending on there, especially with like clothing. And to be honest, going on Pinterest less. All of these things are basically trying to avoid me being bored on my computer. And the way I'm going to do this is just by trying to avoid my habits revolve around my computer, where they don't have to, because I do spend a lot of time on my laptop. But one of my habits I want to implement this year is more reading time. So with this more reading time, hopefully that's going to mean that I'm less distracted and bored on my computer, and the time I do spend on it is a bit more intentional, and that's hopefully going to lead to a decrease in the need to impulsively shop. There are also things you can do that are way more intentional and proactive. Unfollowing specific accounts on social media that do promote kind of fast fashion and buying new things and buying new trending things, which is a hard kind of pill to swallow sometimes, but unfollowing accounts whose outfits you enjoy. I was influenced to buy things I didn't want because I really liked an outfit that someone put together. And something I've talked about before is using that to kind of shape how you pick out things in your own wardrobe, but I think it's hard to do that unless you're comfortable with what you own already, and I think I'm at that stage, so I'm not going to be unfollowing too many accounts. I'm just going to be increasing the friction to me actually going and purchasing more things, increasing the reliance on my wardrobe itself. Another thing I'm going to be doing is just saying no more often. I really enjoy doing this, so I actually don't feel too bad about doing it, but last year was definitely hard because I felt like I was still almost on a comeback or on a come down, whatever, from COVID. Like I was still saying yes to things because I hadn't said yes to them before because it was COVID, we were inside. Things like traveling and spontaneous nights out and dinners out and drinks. Whereas now I'm going to be utilizing being quite intentional with who I'm spending my time with and how quickly my social calendar is getting filled up. I'm introverted anyway, so I don't mind saying no, and I don't mind spending more time with myself. It's also going to allow me to focus more on my like fitness and self-care related goals too. And the third thing I'm going to be doing is kind of related to the first point. You know, it's tying also in with my self-care goals. By working on my self-confidence and my self-esteem, I will hopefully rely less on getting validation from other people, even if that's in terms of the clothes I wear and needing to wear new stuff or needing to wear trending stuff. I'm hoping that by focusing on myself and my self-confidence, I can kind of wholly rely on what I have to keep me happy and validated, and rely less on other people doing that for me, which will hopefully just result in less erratic spending habits as well. And the final thing I'll be doing is just utilizing sinking funds. I speak about this all the time. I sound like a broken record, and I have definitely spoken about it earlier in this video, but sinking funds, they save lives. I'm going to create pots for everything I need. This year I'm actually creating a pot for every single holiday that I've got planned. I can take each holiday off as and when I reach the limit for each sinking fund. And I'm also creating a sinking fund for gifts because that crept up on me a little bit last year. I'm such a gift giver. I love giving good gifts. I love giving thoughtful gifts, and sometimes thoughtful gifts cost money. Those also go through standing orders into digital banks into separated pots as well. And when I want to spend that money, I will do the spending on a credit card and then just use the pot to pay that off. Whatever goals you kind of want to set, have an action plan for them. Don't forget to budget. And don't forget to set up sinking funds for whatever you want to do next year, just so that you have no anxiety. I will leave you there, and I will see you in the next video, which is hopefully going to be a vlog. You never know. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. Bye.